Live with CDP, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast live on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, and on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, and Anchor FM. Now here's your host, Chris Pagliei.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Live with CDP Sports Talk, sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road here in Guelph at the Guelph Auto Mall. And you guys can check out their new selection of GM cars on their website. I'm going to bring it up right now at barrycullen.ca as well. And like I said, I really appreciate Mark Cullen from the dealership giving me an opportunity to use that Barry Cullen as a sponsorship. And you guys can also check them out. I'm just going to put their address right here on here. This is still new to me, so bear with me. You guys can check out Barry Cullen Chevrolet, again at 905 Woodlawn Road in Weston, Guelph, Ontario. Phone number is 1-833-740-2229 for service, or 1-833-74208 as well. And also, you guys, you can check out, it's one of the most premier Chevrolet dealerships in Canada. At Barry Cullen Chevrolet in Guelph, we pride ourselves in offering our clients a wide range of services, as well as new cars and pre-owned cars as well. So check out barrycullen.com, again at 905 Woodlawn Road West in Guelph. And again, thank you to Mark Cullen for sponsoring this podcast show starting as of today. So thank you so much. Anyways, guys, welcome to Live with CDP Sports Talk on this Friday, September 2nd, 2022. And I'm looking forward to my guest today. This will be his fourth appearance on my talk show. His name is the Philly Sports Guy, and he's one of Philadelphia's biggest sports fans for all their major pro sports teams. So the Philly Sports Guy is going to come on today, and he's going to talk about the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles and how good this team could possibly be in 2022. And we're going to also preview their game against the Detroit Lions on Sunday, September 11th. At 1 o'clock at Ford Field in Detroit against those Lions, who I think will be improved. So bear with me, guys. I'm going to bring on the Philly Sports Guy. Good afternoon, Jamie. How are you doing?
Hey, Chris. How are you?
I'm okay.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's
football season.
Yes, I got to work on my sponsorship thing, but this is my first one, so I can only get better from here.
That's exactly correct. You got to start somewhere. So congratulations on getting sponsorships. That's the hard part.
Yes, definitely. So I'm hoping eventually they can give me like a 2-minute video clip in an MP4 format. Then I can just play the video clip as well. So I'm hoping eventually at that point too. But I've got the logo up there as well. So StreamYard is great for sponsorship for your shows and stuff like that.
I agree. I have a number of guys that I work in as sponsors. Philly Sports Trips being one of them. Obviously, Philly Sports Trips is a big help getting to all these games. It's not simple. It is not simple.
I was going to say, I did go with the virtual thing background. I ended up choosing Lambeau Field. That was the game the Eagles beat the Packers 34-27 on Thursday Night Football in 2019.
I remember that game. I didn't make it to it, but I had been. They won that game, and I remember when I went there, they beat Green Bay. Of course, Aaron Rodgers didn't play. That was where they beat a third-string quarterback.
Yeah, well, I know is there was I would guess about close to 10,000 Eagle fans there. Like, even though it was Green Bay territory, the Eagles fan base travels well, and everybody talks about Bills Mafia and Steeler Nation and stuff. Philadelphia, to me, is one of the very top, in the top 3 fan bases in national football, at least.
I agree. We travel well. We travel very well, and it doesn't matter when or where. If there's a football game going on and the Eagles are playing, we have at least 5,000, if not more, in attendance.
Definitely, and being in Bills Mafia, all I hear is Bills this, Bills that, and stuff like that. But you know what? Philadelphia is as passionate for their team as Buffalo. I was gonna say that expectations for Buffalo this year is basically what Super Bowl or bust. But you know what? They might have talent. We all know this, Jamie. You can have all the talent you want on your lineup, but you still got to play the games on the field. And one thing none of us can foresee is injuries to key players, quarterbacks, offensive lines. So
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, you know, injuries are going to happen. It's a matter of how deep you're going to be to certain positions, and that's the one thing that I would say that the Eagles probably have a lot of strength in. That's also what the Bills have a lot of strength in. They have a lot of depth in certain positions.
yep, yep.
Obviously, if your quarterback goes down, you're going to have a hard time in general. It's not like every year that somebody can come out and be like, "Hey, yeah, we're going to, you know, win the Super Bowl with a backup quarterback." Doesn't happen frequently. Of course, the Eagles did it, but it doesn't get to happen very often.
Well,
So
speaking of the Eagles, they signed former Notre Dame quarterback in Book off the Saints roster as a third string quarterback, and I had to get your thoughts on this. I was not a big fan of his, but Jalen Rager was traded to the Vikings a couple of days ago. I get your thoughts on those moves.
well, I don't know much about Ian. Obviously, uh, my thought is that he can't be any worse than what we had in camp already, and that's kind of what I see as I foresee that. I mean, I thought Sinnott stunk, and obviously, the moment was way too big for Carson Strong. I think that he's got to mentally work it out in his head that he was going to possibly, that he possibly just lost his only opportunity to make it into the NFL. I think that moment was too big. When it comes to, uh, yeah, like I said, so I don't know much about Ian. Obviously, he can't be much worse than what was already out there.
I think he's. I
Trading,
think he's. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say traded Jalen Reagor. I I think Jalen Rager is still going to wind up being a good player. And I don't know that I agree 100% with the trade. However, I am also a really big fan of Devin Allen, and that opens up a spot for him. I think that he's going to be the one that comes on the team, specifically because he's got so much speed and he's going to be used in special teams. And I think that that speed transcends in a lot of different ways. Also, I like the fact I would love for him to be our punt return guy.
What about Quaz Watkins? What did you see from him in training camp in preseason?
So Quez Watkins, I've been a fan of Quez Watkins for a couple of years. Like I said, I was
Yes,
touting him before anybody else was. I don't think he had the best of camps this year. I don't think that it was a matter of anything beyond the fact that he was just, it's like he wasn't going full out in practice. I think that he's got another gear yet that he can figure out in during the game time. And so I think because of that he didn't have the greatest of camps, but I mean he did enough. Obviously, he cemented his spot. He didn't come in and just stink up the place. He cemented his spot. Obviously, that's why he's still here and Rager's gone.
I was gonna say, what are your overall thoughts on this wide receiver core now? And now that Zach Ertz was traded, obviously last year, how do you feel Dallas Goddard will be as now the number one guy in Philadelphia?
Well, we're going to know pretty quickly if he can't handle it. I think that he can. Obviously, he's got good hands. He does run routes better than Zach Ertz, and he's a better blocker. He's a better of getting in the way and pushing guys over and things like that. So he was a little bit more versatile than just Zach Ertz. That being said, I think that he's going to be the fourth option. He's going to definitely get his. He's going to get somewhere around 65 to 70, receptions, and probably about 80 to 90 targets in total.
Okay, I was gonna say, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as wide receivers go, I like our wide receiving core. I think that it's obviously you have Devonta Smith and AJ Brown, and then you put Quez Watkins out there, and then you have even Pascal, who, from what I understand, is been very quiet in his routes, but his route is typically always open. So, I mean, when you have a lot of talent out there, along with you have the running backs out there, which is still going to be a running back by committee when it comes to Sanders and Gainwell and Scott. But I'm okay with that because you don't want those guys breaking down too quickly. And I know that we just picked up another running back from the 49ers, to be the fourth. So I mean, there's definitely a lot of options available here on this team. It's really going to be up to Jalen Hurts to make sure that we do as well as everybody expects us to, and as they have added into their expectations.
Okay, Jamie, you obviously were there at training camp and saw preseason action. What were your thoughts of Jalen Hurts in training camp and a little bit of preseason action so far?
I I think he was doing okay. I mean, obviously, I still am not. I'm still have a little concern on the long ball. Obviously, he's going to have to rainbow those up there, and I'm not a big fan of that whole thought process. He has been more precise with his shorter passes, though. So I like that. I like the fact that he's trying. In camp, he was trying to fit balls into windows, and a lot of those balls made it through the windows. So I kind of enjoyed that, and I think that that's one of the things that he was struggling with last year a little bit. I feel that if he is 3 to 5% better on his completion percentage, it's going to make a big difference in every which way. So, and really, that's not even asking a lot because he was pretty accurate. He was at 62%. If he gets at 65%, now we're talking every two out of every three throws that it's completing. That is, those are Hall of Fame numbers. You know what I mean? If you do that over an entire career.
Yeah, because I know with the Bills, Josh Allen didn't really take off until his third year in the league. So if Hurts can be similar to Allen or somewhat close, the Eagles are going to be in good shape this season.
I agree. I think that it's obviously it's going to rest a lot on Jalen Hurts' shoulders.
Development.
He's got to be able to arise to the occasion now. Is the hard part here. If he doesn't rise to this occasion, it's going to be a long season. There's too much talent on this team for him not to.
I was going to say this leads to my first question, Jamie. Overall thoughts on the offseason moves by the Eagles via the draft and some free agent signings and recent trades. Obviously, we've already mentioned with Rieger, and they brought in a defensive back, Gardner Johnson from the Saints.
He's going to be our safety now, so obviously that's a big spot. I I mean, how do you not how are you not happy with the AJ Brown move? Obviously, it was absolutely worth the first round, and I think it was the fourth round pick that we gave up. He's going to be able to stretch out a little bit of the field, but also going to require attention so that Devontae Smith is also going to be able to get himself open pretty frequently. I find that it's going to go back and forth. That either you're going to have to double AJ Brown or you're going to have to double Devonta Smith, and the other will wind up having single coverage. And I think that when you put those guys single covered on any defensive back in the league, 9 times out of 10 they're going to win. And I think that that's the really big deal in this. And then you add Quez Watkins, who's going to be a burner and just go on the fly pattern and just go. And if you are spending so much time trying to defend against Devonta Smith and Brown, then you got Quez Watkins taking the fly pattern, and get the ball to him, and you're going to have some of those touchdowns like Deshaun Jackson type touchdowns.
What kind of numbers are you seeing for Smith and Brown and maybe even Watkins?
I think Smith and Brown both get over 1,000 yards this year. Especially with the 17th game, I don't think it's unrealistic to see both of them go over 1,000. I think that you'll wind up getting about 800 yards out of Dallas Goddard, I think Quez Watkins is only going to have about 400 or 500 yards. You're not going to see him get the ball as much because he's going to be the fly guy. He's going to be the one that just stretches the field in general. And I feel that a lot of the time that's going to be more of a decoy,
Okay.
that they may go to that very early in the year and do it frequently, but then decoy it out for the rest of the time. So if they connect, if by chance they were to connect in the first or second pass like that, that would be the best thing that could happen because then you have to respect it. But most of the time, I think that that's just going to be a decoy, and that's just going to allow to remove some of the defensemen from out of the area so that you can get the guys that are running the routes closer open
Is this the most talented receiving core you've seen in Philly in a while?
in a while. Yes, in a big while. I mean, I want to say the one that probably makes the most in terms of we had a pretty good receiving core when we had uh, Terrell Owens, but Terrell Owens is what made that a better core. You could say the same thing with Alshon Jeffrey. However, I felt that our tight ends were the reason why that receiving core was a good receiving core. So it had more to do with the tight ends than the receivers. And also that year we had a lot of production out of our backfield with catching passes. It was probably one of the best years that we've ever had with running backs. So that's what we kind of need. It can't just be one sided or the other. Obviously, the running game was great last year. They're going to have to still depend on that some. You have to almost show that in the beginning so that they also have to respect that. You don't want to come out slinging it all the time because then, they're, like it says, it's going to be easier defended. It's that's where, like I said, they have to still keep a balance. I would like to see 55-45, 45% run. And of course, you're going to see Hurts get some of his own yardage there in terms of running the ball. It's not going to be just the running backs that do this. So it's going to be an interesting year all the way around. I'm interested to see how they run this offense this year.
I was going to say we've talked about all the pieces, but how does the O line look so far in training camp and in preseason? The third game uh, got blown up by Miami. Really didn't matter, but I just wanted your quick thoughts on the O line, how they look so far.
Well, none of the starters played at all.
At all?
So it was
Wow.
all,
Okay.
and in fact, half of the second crew didn't play. So I mean, they got blown up by Miami. They had already cashed it in. They did not want to. They weren't there anymore. I almost believe that the way that they played, that they all went out the night before, and
Wow.
partied. That's just how it looks like how they played. So I can't guarantee that that's what happened. So don't take me as saying, "Hey, I saw them out and about." No, I
Yeah.
wasn't down there, but I just feel like they definitely just called it in. They didn't really care. And the guys who needed to excel did excel, and the guys who didn't need to excel all got cut.
Okay. Because
So,
I know with football teams, it all starts with the O line and D line. You can have all the great pieces and stuff, but to me, it still starts on the front line with the O and the D lines.
well, obviously, Dillard just got hurt and is going to be out for a couple of weeks. He's probably going to miss the start of the season and probably come back right around week 4. But once you get past him, they have a number of suitable backups, and I think they've got the best offensive line in the league, bar none, bar none. I think that you have so much mobility and so big of a line. The fact that they're able to these guys are able to move mountains on their own, and it's going to be really tough for defensive lines to be able to contest our offensive line.
And last year, didn't the Eagles lead the league in rushing or one of the top rushing teams?
They did lead the league in rushing.
And I was going to say, now you got a quarterback that's in his third year and should be better, and you got all these weapons. This offense should be capable of putting up what 30 points a game at least this year
I
per
I
game.
would I think that on average they're going to be somewhere around 26.
Okay,
And that's saying 24 to 31. They're going to have some of those outliers. They're going to be able to score 40 points sometimes. I think that it's going to not start off as quickly as we'd like it to. I think the first couple of games are still going to be a little rust is going to come off. I know last year they came out of the gate and they crushed Atlanta, and they may be able to do the exact same thing against Detroit. As Detroit, I think is better, but I think that they still need some pieces before they really are. They have to figure out certain things. They can't just. They're not just going to be able to just come right out of the gate and be super strong. So I
Okay.
feel that they are on their way up. They're on the upswing, but they're not there yet. So I think that the Eagles are going to win on next Sunday, but you're going to be able to see. I don't think it's going to be the blowout of 44-6 that we saw last year. I think it's going to be a much closer game, much closer contested, where it's going to be like a 24-14 or 24-13 game, something like that, where
Yeah.
they're going to score some points but not a lot. And we're going to score some points, but not a lot because it's still going to be, everybody's going to be rusty. They didn't really play in the preseason.
What are your thoughts on preseason games being down now? I remember when we were kids back in the 70s, it was 6 preseason games. I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on only having 3 now.
Uh, so pretty soon we're only going to have two. I know that the NFL has been fighting to get to the 18 game schedule, and it's going to be more involved that those two games you're going to have the combined practices. So not only you're going to have a preseason game, but you're going to have these combined practices, and they're going to last for longer. So where I think that they're going to keep everything the same in terms of the preseason. They're just going to bring it down to 2 games. You're going to have practices for a full week with the team, and then another full week with another team, and a week on the road and a week at home type situation. And then when they go to the 18 games, they're going to be able to bring it so that the Super Bowl is literally right after or on President's Day weekend so that you get
Okay.
off on that Monday. So I know that that's been the NFL's plan for a long time. So the fact that there's 3 preseason games right now, I don't really even think about preseason. I really don't. I want to get to the regular season as soon as possible. I understand the purpose of it. Need to be able to get the rust off. You need to make sure everybody's going to be able to do their things and get that all together. And I think that the way that the NFL is looking to do this, that's going to really take hold. But in the meantime, let's get to the regular season. I don't care about preseason at all. And that's, you know, how do you get excited for a game when it doesn't matter?
Absolutely. Like you said, it's more for the coaches and the management to evaluate players as well. But this is my next question, Jamie. What are your thoughts on the Eagles coaching staff heading into the 2022 season and Nick Sirianni having another year under his belt as head coach?
I think Nick Sirianni is going to be able to improve on the things that he did. I hope and pray that Gannon also is able to improve on how he runs his defense. He's touted as a very intelligent guy and almost had the possibility of getting a coaching job this year. And obviously he didn't do it. Now he's back again. I hear a lot of good things about him. I hope that he's able to really be as strong of a coach as everybody touts him as. Because as of right now, last year I didn't see it. I like a little bit more blitzes. I like to see a little bit more pressure. They had no pressure whatsoever on the quarterbacks last year, and that turned into 80% completion percentages for 4 quarterbacks. Can't do that. You cannot do that. You can't have 1/4 of your season where a quarterback is sitting there in the pocket, scratching his head, scratching his butt, eating a sandwich, picking his fingernails, and then going and throwing a touchdown pass because he had all that time. I mean,
Okay,
and
definitely.
I feel like the Eagles had a big problem with that, and they still had a problem trying to get off the field on 3rd down. They got to get off the field on 3rd down. They cannot give up these long yardage plays on 3rd and long, and they did that a lot last year. They were able to get it a little bit under control towards the end of the year, but even in the playoff game, they gave up 3rd and long like 3 or 4 times, and it was a big deal. Got to get off the field. You have to.
I should look up what their stats were last year on third down defense, and that's going to be something to look to against the Detroit Lions on Sunday, September 11th. Is can the Eagles get the Lions offense out off the field after third down, or are they going to let them extend drives? That tires your defense out at the end of the game too, when teams continuously drive the ball on you and you can't get your defense off the field.
I agree. I agree. And last year there wasn't even a question. The Eagles dominated against Detroit. I think that Goff is not the answer up there, obviously. However, they did get a better receiver than what they had last year. I think the running back is pretty good. Their defense is pretty good, and a fairly decent offensive line. Especially because they have a couple of Eagles that are on the offensive line, a couple of ex-Eagles. Uh, I know Louis Vaitai is over there. Uh, I can't remember who the other Eagle is that was the offensive lineman over there, but both of them were Eagles, and both of them, I think, even have a ring with the Eagles. So
I do think the Eagles will win this game, but I think it's going to be closer than last year. I think the Lions' strength of their team, from what I've seen on the roster, is not going to be their offense. I think their defense is going to be a little bit improved, and they have that pass rusher from Michigan in the Aiden Hutchinson as well, and he's somebody that they're going to have to keep an eye on Sunday against Detroit.
I think that that's going to be a good test. Their defensive line against our offensive line to start. And really, on both sides of the ball, that is exactly the reason why Detroit stayed in games last year, because they actually had a halfway decent offensive line and a halfway decent defensive line. They bolstered up both in the offseason this year. So I don't think that it's as good as the Eagles, and I think that's going to make the difference. But ultimately, they are going to make some waves, a lot more waves than people believe. I would say they could possibly be the number two team in that division. I just don't even know who's going to be the number one. Will it be the Vikings or would it be Green Bay?
I still got to go with the Packers. As long as Aaron Rodgers number 12, they're still the team to beat in that division. Then I think Detroit, Minnesota will battle out for 2 and 3. I think Chicago is going to be bad again. Who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us.
Yeah, I think that this year you're going to see a lot more parity in general. I think that last year there was a good amount of teams that had 3 and 4 wins, 4 and 5 wins. There was a good amount that had under 6 wins. I don't think that you're going to see that this year. I think you're going to see a lot of sevens and tens and 8 and 9s and 9s and 8s. I feel that that's the winners are still going to win. I think you're going to see a bunch of 11 and 5s as well, but you're going to see the losses spread out a lot more and not necessarily in just a couple of teams. You'll still have a couple of bad teams, but not many. Seattle's going to be one. I wouldn't be surprised to see if Seattle wins. If Seattle wins 4 games this year, it'll be a good season for them.
Definitely. And that leads to my next question, Jamie. If you're still okay for a few more minutes and a few more questions.
Sure, I'm ready to go.
Okay. This one I had to ask you. What are the overall expectations from the Philadelphia fan base and also the local media for this year's Eagles team?
So I feel that the fan base kind of emulates a little bit about what I'm saying as well. I think they are nervously optimistic that they are a little apprehensive to just be full in. I think that everybody sees what's potentially here and they think that it could be a very great season. I myself think that we're going to have a good season, and I think that it even has the potential. The upside of this season has a lot more potential than any downside could possibly be. It's hard to find losses in the schedule, and that doesn't mean that I'm right. Just means that I think that when you look at it on paper, the Eagles are a much better team. Last year, the Eagles had 3 games that they weren't underdogs in, at the beginning of the season. This year, there's 5 games that the Eagles aren't favored in. And that's a big, big swing So if Vegas thinks that they're going to do that well, I mean, Vegas has got what the Eagles over under at 9.5 wins. I think that, and I think that the better money is on the over. So I feel that I feel that everybody's kind of very similar, media in general, that everybody's a cautious optimistic and they want to be able to see us out there. It's funny because a loss to Detroit and all of a sudden it would be the end of the world. And it's just game one of 17. But uh, that's how Philadelphia fan base is. They are going to live and die with this team, and if this team doesn't do well, they're going to die.
Definitely. Hey, since I got you on here, should wish Merle Reese a happy birthday. The voice of the bird since 1976, I believe.
Yes, that is correct. Happy birthday! I didn't realize today was his birthday, but I'm glad that you reminded me. Happy birthday, Merrill.
Man, and that's aw it's just amazing in Philadelphia. Dan Baker, the voice of the Phillies since 1972. Lou Nolan, the Flyers PA announcer since I think 1970, I believe. And then obviously Merle Reese, and then the late Harry Karras. The Philadelphia has just had so many great broadcasters and PA announcers of Eagles football. You hear Merle's voice, he is always going to be the voice of the Eagles, no matter what.
I agree. I mean, I've lived with him all my life since I've been following the Eagles for real, and it's amazing because yeah, they used to black out the games all the time, so you would only be able to listen on the radio, and it had to be AM radio. So I remember listening back then, and at that time it was Stan Walters. Once he retired, he went right up into the booth and was like it was that way. So I find that it's once he finally moves on, there's going to be a big void that's got to get replaced.
I'd say you can't replace Merle. Somebody, whoever takes over, is going to be following in his footsteps, and they're going to be huge footsteps, replacing, following Merle because he is so beloved in Philadelphia and has meant so much to Eagles football for the last 45, 46 seasons.
Agreed. Agreed. I mean, obviously, you're not going to be able uh, to replace him. You can only aspire to be as good as him. And
Definitely.
somebody, and once they get somebody in here who does it for 40 or 50 years, I'm sure that they're going to be talked about the exact same way.
Definitely. And then you got Mike Quick. I loved him as an Eagles receiver, and I think he does a great job as a radio analyst with Merle. They work well together.
I agree. I agree. And he's enough of a homer, but yet still critical enough. That's what I like
Yes.
about it. When I listen to the radio broadcast or if I'm listening to Merrill Reese, I expect to get the homer review.
Yes.
That's what I want. I'm not going to listen to it to hear about the other team. I'm my team. So that's what I want to do. When you go listen to Joe Buck or Troy Aikman or any of these other announcers, obviously they got to talk about both teams. In every fan base thinks that Joe Buck hates them. So it's not the most ridiculous thing in the world to think of that. And I know better a little bit. I know he it always seems that he doesn't talk about the Eagles enough. That's because we're spoiled because we have Merrill Reese.
Absolutely. And like you said, I'll be listening to. I'm actually going to do that on Sunday. Is turn on the volume on the TV set and put on Merle on the radio. And that's another thing too. Years ago in the 70s and 80s or even 90s, I couldn't listen to them. And now with all this technology, I can listen to the best. I think they're the best duo in the NFL.
I agree. I agree. Although I don't get to listen to many other radio broadcasts either, so I can't speak intelligently about somebody else's broadcast. I know that if I can't listen to them, then I would want to listen to somebody like me because I used to call the games or at least do color commentary. I'd watch the game and then talk about what it is that I just saw on a live broadcast. So it'd almost be like I was doing the color and you were getting your own feed of the game, however that was. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? I think that like I said. said, very spoiled to have announcers like that. And I'm sure there's good announcers in other places, but Philly's home, so
Definitely.
Merrill's the man.
Eh, Definitely. And I was going to ask you this question quickly, Jamie. What areas of this team will be their overall strengths? And what area do you feel the Eagles still need to address and improve during the offseason? We already mentioned the offensive weapons, but the third down defense, is there any other areas you might be a little bit concerned about?
I want to see how this safety works out. Obviously, going over the top is going to be the biggest issue, and I want to see how the safeties react. Obviously, in the one play that really somebody went long, you had Tyreek Hill, get the pass, and he not only burned past everybody, but was able to come back, have a snack, and then still catch the ball. Those are things that you can't have happen, and ultimately, it's going to. That's where I'm most concerned for the big play on the pass. I don't think that anybody's going to be able to run on us. I think that they're only going to be able to get big plays on us. And that's what I feel like that they're going to need to work on. I know that Gannon's really big on not giving up the big play, so it maybe possibly that's how this is all going to work. But I feel that that's going to be the only opportunity that opposing offenses are going to have, because I don't see them running the ball out on this defensive line, and I don't really see them, like I said, the little dink and dunk passes I think are now going to be contested very well. I think that they have finally started to solve the problem of what happens when they do a screen pass. We used to get killed on screen passes all the time. I think with N'Kobe Dean and the way that they have done the linebackers, and the way that these offensive lines are now going, our defensive line is going, where we're in a hybrid 3-4-4-3 defense, that they're going to have the ability to get some of the plays that worked on a consistent basis last year. They would get crushed with all these screens, and I don't think the screens are going to be the issue anymore. I think it's going to be the long ball.
Okay. And I got to ask you this. They already announced a 53-man roster and their practice squad, or is that going to be next week, earlier next week towards the Detroit game?
So the 53-man roster was already announced, and
Okay.
they did also announce their practice squad. Obviously, there has been some transition since all that, because Jalen Rager made the 53-man roster and then he got traded, so that opened up a spot. And I think I'm not sure if it's Devin Allen that's taken that spot, or the other guy who also had a pretty good camp as well. Um, is it Finn or Tin or something like that? I'm not really sure. But you have that spot there, and then like I said, they we got a new defenseman, new defensive guy. So there is a number of spots that, so they have two spots available left on the practice squad, and I think as of right this second, they have not uh, filled Rager's spot yet. They haven't announced who's going to be taking that spot yet.
How many guys can they have up on a practice squad, Jamie, in the NFL?
So because we have an international player. So we have one guy who falls into the same category that originally Jordan Mailata fell into. Uh, we're allowed to have 16 guys. Right now,
Okay.
as of today, we had 13 on our guy and that one international spot. So we have 14 on the
Okay.
practice squad as of right now.
Okay. And how do the Eagles look salary cap wise? Are they still got a little bit of space?
I'll be honest. I don't even really think about that type of stuff. I'm sure they do if they
Okay.
needed to make a move, but it's not
Okay.
like they're not going to be able to do with millions of dollars. I mean, I'm sure it would be something that if they wanted to do a trade, it would have to make sense. But that's one of the spots where I think is our strengths in general. That's where Howie Roseman really excels. He knows how to deal with these contracts and knows how to deal with uh, moving the money so that it makes sense in every which way.
It's huge now in sports to have guys like Howie Roseman type guys because it is a business.
Yeah, and I would say how he learned from really one of the best in that whole opportunity. You could say what you want about Joe Banner. he was a capologist. That was his strength. Although he wasn't the greatest of guys in terms of being able to be part of a team growing, growing the team right. Like I said, had he not been such a an asshole, excuse my language,
No
uh,
worries.
he would have, we would have had Terrell Owens and probably went back to the Super Bowl that next year. It's just that those were some of the things that he did that just made things very frustrating. The whole Jeremiah Trotter situation, where when he touted and got excited about the fact that he brought Trotter back here on a big discount, and he announced it out loud, was when he had to go, and he wound up getting fired very soon afterwards because none of the players wanted to deal with that. They're like, "Listen, this squirrely guy can't be the guy who." Nobody's going to feel like that they want to come here if they're going to feel like this guy's taking advantage of them. And that's exactly what happened with that. So that's why he had to leave because but how he picked up all of those traits.
I was gonna say you almost need two types of general managers nowadays in sports. One that works on the the roster and the personnel, and one strictly for the salary cap and all that stuff, the business side.
I agree. And that's why Howie Roseman, I don't think he's as strong with the talent. And I think for a couple of years when that was part of the issue that he didn't once he lost Joe Douglas, he didn't have the right guy telling him what to do. Then it took a couple years, but he found the right guy. And the one thing that I liked about is that he went to go fist pump the guy, and the guy wasn't happy about who he chose. He wanted somebody different, and I want somebody to do those types of checks and balances. I don't want everybody to agree 100% on every player that you're choosing. I want there to be a question on whether, oh, yeah, that we need to take care of this. I want this guy instead of this guy. And this is the reason why I think so. Because if everybody's thinking about the same thing or on the same page and they all want the same exact guy, I don't know. The moment everybody's choosing one person, I feel like there's a
Yep,
better answer. So
definitely, definitely. You don't want all yes men.
exactly. That's exactly
Definitely.
correct.
Okay. This next question, I'm going to put you on the spot. I only got a couple more to go, Jamie, and then we'll wrap it up. Yes or no? Can running back Miles Sanders rush for 1,300 yards this season?
Can he? Yes. Will he? No, not at
Okay.
all. I think that he's going to be 8 to 900 yards rushing, maybe. He may even be less than that.
My
They're going to go
concern,
back. They're going to go back to the running back by committee. Yeah, they do not favor. That he's not going to get the contract that he wants to get here. Unless it's a a friendly contract. They spend the money on the quarterbacks and they spend the money on the linemen. They do not spend the money on the running backs, and that's why you see these running backs by committee. We haven't had really a premier running back like Sanders. You could argue that Sanders is a premier running back, but the truth of the matter is that he is not. He's a good running back. He's not a great running back. He does have some speed, but he doesn't really have the. He's not Barry Sanders. He's not Emmett Smith. I would even go as far as say he's not even Zeke Elliott. You know what I mean? And that's where I feel like he just does. He's not going to get 1,300 yards because he's not going to be able to have the ball enough to get 1,300 yards.
I think he has the talent to, but my question with him is his durability for a long season.
Oh, and that too. Especially because in the beginning of the season, you almost don't want to use him because you'd rather save him for the end of the season. Or if you're going to use him, you use him in the very beginning of the season, and then you let him rest in the middle of the season and start to use him at the end of the season. But until he can prove that he can play all the games, or at least be available for all the games, I don't know that I don't expect him to get all those carries to be able to go 1,300 yards.
And I was going to say load management. They use that word in basketball. Maybe that's what the Eagles will have to do with the running backs and Sanders load management throughout the season.
I agree. You know what? I just saw something today. I was somewhere where I saw that the over under on touchdowns for him for the year is 4.5. So, which
Wow.
sounds like a very low number. But truth of the matter is that what did he have last year? 4 or 5? So it's not
I think he's
ridiculous.
gonna. I'm gonna put him down for 8 rushing touchdowns this year. 8.
No, I think that's lofty. I wouldn't bet
Okay, well, we'll
against.
see.
I wouldn't bet against, but I think that it's a little lofty.
I was gonna say the red zone offense. That's gonna be. That's actually leads to my next question. What are 3 keys to a win over the Detroit Lions at Ford Field on September 11th at 1 p.m.? And overall, how many wins do you see the Birds winning in 2022? And do you feel the red zone offense will be better than it was last year?
Okay, first and foremost, I think the Eagles, all they have to do is come and play their game. I can't really say it any plainer than that. To beat Detroit, all they got to do is play their game. They can't let Detroit dictate how they get the ball and things like that. I feel that their defense is going to be too strong. That the Eagles' defense is too strong to let Detroit's offense dictate to them how long they're going to be on the field. I feel like that they have to kind of do exactly what they did last year and just make sure to take care of business. No long drives, none of that. They're going to be keep their drives to 4 and 5 minutes at most, and field goals. I think they'll score one touchdown, but I think that that's, like I said, that may be on a long ball that I think they're going to get beat with some long touchdowns. I don't think that they're going to get beat on the dink and dunks. So I feel that that's the best way to do that against Detroit. As far as how I think they're going to go for the season, I have them at 11-6, but I also give a caveat to that if everything bounces their way, that they could be as good as 13-4. But I
I
believe
t-
11-6.
I agree with you. I'd like to see 13-4, but 11-6 is pretty realistic. And I was going to say one of the guys coming back to Detroit this on September 11th, Darius Big Play Slay. I can see him having a good game against his former team in the Motor City.
As he did the last time. So he definitely took care of business when we were there on Halloween last year.
Definitely.
So
And yeah,
yeah,
and
it's
we'll
it,
just
it's. I think it's going
yeah.
to be a great season. I think that the Eagles really could impress. Right now, they are the sexy pick for the best record in the NFL.
Wow, wow. Because I'm hearing a lot of Buffalo's going to go on to share Buffalo this and that, but you know what? I think the Eagles are a contender coming out of the AFC are going to be as good this year, especially losing Von Miller. And you know this,
Yes.
and we know this as Eagle fans. Once you win the Super Bowl, you become even more of a target. You're no longer the underdog. Everybody's going to be coming after the Rams this year, especially.
Well, and I think when you win the Super Bowl, you get a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. And I feel
Yeah.
that's what's going to happen with the Rams this year. I am not as excited as everybody else seems to be about all the teams in the West. I think that the Rams are going to be okay. I think the 49ers are going to be okay. I think that everybody in the AFC West is going to be okay, but they're not going to be great, and
What about
that's what I think.
what about Denver? Do you think Russell Wilson will make that much of a difference with the Broncos?
No, in fact, I got Russell Wilson actually stinking up the joint. So the fact that Denver
Wow.
gave them all this money, I think that they needed to wait to see a few games. And I know that they just got they're under new ownership, so they wanted to what they looked at as their biggest asset. They wanted to be able to get under contract and prove to him that hey, you are the best here, and we're going to pay you like that. But truth be told, is that I think that they are not going to do very well. I think Denver goes 7-10, maybe 8-9, and really doesn't compete for any playoff spot. I think that on the opposite side, I think that the Chargers, although they did get a little bit better on defense, they didn't really do much on offense. And I think that you're going to see them in like 9-8, maybe 10-7. I think the Raiders are going to stink. I think the Raiders, everybody's all excited. Oh, you got this guy and you got this guy. I think the Raiders are not going to be very good at all because they got rid of their coach. And I think that he was the strongest part of their team last year. And there's too much drama that follows around the Raiders in general. And then you have Kansas City, who I think took a step back because Tyreek Hill's not on the team. Literally, that's the big step back there. And they got like new offensive linemen and such. They're trying to solidify something over there, but I think that they're not going to be as good.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna go with my Super Bowl pick, and I know it's way too early. It's only September 2nd, but I think Buffalo will finally get back to the Super Bowl, and I think it'll be against Philadelphia. I think it'll be Buffalo Philly Super Bowl this year.
I'd love to say that I have them going to the NFC Championship game. I cannot see. I think that they get there. I think that they make a big jump, and at that point, if you're in that game, you have a chance to winning it. And I'll feel a lot differently closer to that. But I see them in the NFC Championship game this year, and I think that they have that strong of a team. And I think that if they go up against Green Bay, then we'll be in the Super Bowl. If they go up against Tampa Bay, I'm not sure that we will.
Matchups are huge with certain teams. I agree, and well, they'll go as far as Tom Brady plays well.
I agree, and I think that in the beginning of the season, he's not going to play so well, but towards the end. But I think it's apropos because Tom Brady and Jalen Hurts practiced together in the offseason, and they use the same coach. So I feel that it's going to be that would be very appropriate that would be the NFC Championship game.
Definitely, and I've already got a couple games marked down. October 16th against Dallas at 8:20, and then December 24th at Dallas. And those are the two games I'm always, as you know, Dallas week. So I'm
My
looking
birthday. My birthday
forward to
is
those games.
right after Dallas. So it's October 20th so I'll be turning 50 this year. We always play Dallas right around my birthday, so I'm expecting to celebrate there with a win, and that's going to kick off my birthday week, which I might be spending in Nashville watching the Predators against the Flyers.
That's all right. And welcome to the 50 club too, as well. It comes by quick.
Yeah, you know what? I still feel like I'm like 24, so I'm one of
Yeah,
those guys that doesn't know what he wants to be when he grows up. That's why I put makeup on my face and do my thing.
I should try that one day and become the Canadian sports guy.
There you
So,
go.
but I
I'm
was gonna
starting
say,
treads
and
all over the place.
definitely. And I was going to say the Eagles have five prime time games this year as well. Which one are you looking at the most? You're excited about though with the prime time game? I guess obviously the Dallas ones,
Uh, Actually, I only want to start off with the first one, which is Monday Night Football at the home
the
opener.
Vikings. I
Yes,
guess that's at what 8:20. Yeah,
yes,
against
that'll be the
the
later of
Vikings.
the two
Wow,
Monday Night Football games. So I'm excited for that. Let's get them in and get that W, and let's be 2-0 at the end of that night.
absolutely. Hey, like take one game at a time. But I was going to say, Jamie, thank you so much for coming on season 4, episode 27 of Live with CDP Sports Talk, brought to you by Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership. And this is my 192nd episode since March of 2020.
Wow. You see? And I remember when you still didn't even know how to do one. That's look at
That's
look at
true.
how you look at how you've grown now. Our baby boy has
Uh,
grown.
still, thank you. I'm still a work in progress, but I just got to keep grinding away at it and keep getting better. It's like a sports athlete. You just got to keep practicing in reps.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know what? It's like, and I still, even still, I get tongue tied and twisted up, doing these podcasts. It's one of those crafts that you could try to perfect as much as you want to, but you're still going to have the gaps. You're still going to have the mistakes that are made, and it's always evolving. So, congratulations on pretty soon you're going to be in the episode. So, I mean, you're not far away from that. Uh,
Definitely, definitely.
but
I was gonna say I'm gonna have to work. I was gonna say, and one thing I've learned too, Jamie, and you know this as well. Booking guests itself is a full time job itself.
Yes. Yes. Well, you do a great job at that part. I have a hard time making that happen. So
It's
I
not
don't have the
easy.
time to
It's
be
not
able to
easy.
dedicate to try to even get a hold of some of these people. So
Yeah, and sometimes a lot of times they will come on, and then there's sometimes where you get rejection. So I don't let the rejection stop me, and I just keep working forward. But I've been very lucky and having guests like yourself on, and yeah, I just got to keep working away at it. And hey, I guess makes a good podcast show. I'm just the host.
I understand completely, and I appreciate you including me as one of your special guests, and I wish you all the success for the upcoming season. And we should definitely do this a couple of more times throughout the year so that we can keep updates on what's going on with the Eagles. Let everybody up in Canada know when I'm coming up there for a Flyers game.
Definitely. I was gonna say I haven't been to a Flyers game since 1981, so I need to do that again this year. I told Jim Jackson of the Flyers, I said it's been 41 years, so I think I need to do a Flyers game this season.
There you go. I have
Definitely.
never I've only been to one other. Is it one other stadium with for the Flyers? I've been to Washington a couple of times. So I have not been to any other arena uh, to watch a Flyers game. So I'm excited to kind of do that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Red Wings because I think Steve Eiserman has got this team in the right direction, and I think they're gonna be contending for a wild card spot in the East this year. I'm being optimistic, but I think Steve Eiserman's one of the better GMs in hockey, and if they can stay healthy, we'll see what happens.
Well, I don't want to even get into talking hockey because I'm trying to stay in a good mood.
Okay, definitely. Hey, before I let you go, where can my audience in Canada find you and follow you on social media?
They can find me anywhere. If you go to any social media and you put in the search "the Philly Sports Guy," I typically come up. So you could Google me and you type in "the Philly Sports Guy" and I show up everywhere. On Twitter, it's the Philly SG because Sports Guy was too long. But I'm even on some of the minor uh, social medias like Caffeine and uh, Rumble and all those other ones. Any social media that's out there, I am the Philly Sports Guy. Definitely come follow me. I'd appreciate it.
And your website too,
The
phillysportsguy.net.
phillysportsguy.net. That's where you can go to book me if you'd like to book me. Not only am I doing events as the Philly Sports Guy, but I also do speaking engagements. So if you want to have me come in and talk to your business about different scenarios or different situations or just to give everybody a pep talk, I can do all those types of talks. I'm I've learned a lot of doing public speaking and doing teaching classes and such. So it's not just Philly sports guy style. It is motivational, you know, respect within the workplace and things of that nature. I can speak on as well.
Okay, and also the Philly sports tours, if somebody's interested in doing that as well.
Yes, Philly sports trips for not only away games where we do. If you come on and want to go to any city, obviously being from Canada, they would have to get there. But we have tailgates in every city. If you want to come to an Eagles game, you can go through Philly sports trips, and we can set up the hotel, tickets to the game at tailgates. So we have all of that taken care of. So it's not just for away trips; it's for if you would like to come to the home games as well, we're able to work that out for you.
Because we do have a huge Eagles fan base in Canada as well, Jamie. And I'm trying to start an Eagles Mafia or Eagles Nation thing here. There are a lot of Eagles fans in Canada.
I remember when I was up there for the Buffalo game, and there was a number of people. We stayed in Niagara Falls, and there were a number of people that were down there that were Eagles fans, and who had known who I was. So I'm definitely known up in that area. That's why I'm excited that when I get a chance, I want to get up there because I've never been to Toronto or Montreal, and I think that that would be a great trip for me to go.
Montreal, I wish they would get an NFL city because I think Montreal is one of the better sports cities in Canada, and they know how to party down there. And I really think one day if their NFL does come to Canada, I think Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver would make good NFL cities. But that's going to depend on what happens with the Canadian Football League. I love that league as well, and I love the NFL. So
Right, right. So they got a
yeah,
lot of stuff going on up there. So we'll see. We'll see as everything goes forward. But
before I let you go, I'm going to say this. Eagles 24, Lions 17 final on Sunday from Ford Field.
I have it very similar. I think it's a 27-13.
Okay. And I'm looking forward. Are you going to be doing any live updates or social media pages?
Yes, I am going to be live that entire weekend. So I'm obviously not for every moment of the day, but I'm going to be doing a lot of live shots. It's one of those things where the Philly Sports Guy is going to do a number of different things this year, different than what we did before, where you're going to be able to watch the game kind of through my eyes.
Okay. Again, Jamie, I want to say thank you so much for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk today. And I'm looking forward to this 2022 Eagles season. And then I got Gold Blue football tomorrow at noontime against Colorado State Rams. So my weekends are now going to be filled up with football until the end of February.
Well, I wish you the best of luck and listen, go Birds.
Go Birds, go Blue.
I could deal with the without the blue, but whatever. Yeah, go Birds. That's what I care about. Go Birds.
That,
I'm not into college. There's no
okay.
college Philadelphia team, so
And I have to get this in quickly. Dallas sucks.
all the time, Dallas sucks.
Dallas sucks. Anyways, and when's your next show? When's your next show on Facebook for the NFC East?
So I do a show every morning. So the next one's going to be tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. We do the eight from 8 to 10 with Mac and Jack. I'm the co-host of the Mac and Jack show, which I'll do that on Saturday and Sunday from 8 to 10 a.m. And then my show is the Philly Sports Guy show on Monday at 9 a.m.
Okay, definitely, and looking forward to your next show with the NFC guys. I think you all do a great job, and you all love your teams, and you do a great job. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. Next one, we're actually doing a live fantasy draft between us and J and B with Jim Jeffcoat, ex-Cowboy Jim Jeffcoat, and ex-Giant Byron Williams. So fantasy
9 o'clock
football
at
draft.
night. What is it? At nighttime? Nighttime?
No, it'll be at 7 o'clock on
Okay.
Wednesday night.
Okay, check it out. And again, Jamie, the Philly sports guy, thanks for coming on for your fourth appearance. And look forward to the 2022 Eagles.
Go Birds! Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jamie, and we'll keep in touch with you as always on social media. I hope you have a great weekend and looking forward to next Sunday.
Awesome. Let's go. Take care,
Let's
Chris.
go, Birds.
Go
You
Birds.
too, Jamie.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie.
Have a good one.
Have a great day. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my podcast show today on Live with CDP Sports Talk, Season 4, Episode 27. Again, brought to you by Barry Cullen Dealership here in Guelph at 905 Woodlawn Road in Guelph. And you can check out their website, barrycullen.com, for their newest selection of GM vehicles as well. So, I want to say thank you to Jamie Pagliei, the Philly sports guy, for coming on and talking Philadelphia Eagles football, and also helping me out with a virtual background on here, which I'm going to change on each show as well. This one is from Lambeau Field in September of 2019 when the Birds beat the Packers 37 on Thursday Night Football. I had a great time at Lambeau Field with Elite Sports as well. Before I get going, guys, I'm just going to show you a little bit of my demo clip that was done by Greg McBride from Onward Media. I just wanted to, it's a demo reel for some radio jobs I'm going to be applying to. When the former Hamilton Tiger Cat, how do they stop him in the second half? I believe he's got over 100 yards receiving alone in the first half. Question I wanted to ask you specifically. Do you still feel McLeod Bethel Thompson is the long-term successful quarterback? And do you feel Chad Kelly will eventually get his opportunity at some point this season? I honestly think the Sabres will trade him for the right package. So we'll see what happens there. And the Sabres also have won the draft lottery, and it'll be interesting to see if Owen Powell, the defenseman from Michigan Wolverines, will let the Sabres draft him, or he'll come back and play another year of college hockey at Michigan. I reached out to Jerry Howarth, and I figured I'd have no chance on social media with him. He wouldn't even reply back, and within a day or two, he replied back, and he came on my podcast and talked to me for over an hour. And he's also told me how much I've improved in the last year as well. And if I can reach out to Jerry Howarth, I can pretty well reach out to anyone, because he's one of the legends in the sport. But I guess he was only 18 years old, and he wasn't even from Buffalo. He was from Conklin, New York, which is a suburb of Binghamton.
Binghamton.
Upstate New York, in a little town of 5,000 people. But what are your thoughts of the pickup of Matt Carpenter and Josh Donaldson? And do you feel that Brian Cashman needs to make another trade before the deadline to add to the starting pitching staff? I'm with Buffalo Bison's color analyst Duke McGuire and Buffalo Baseball Hall of Famer. Duke, I was going to say, what are your thoughts on the current 2022 Buffalo so far this year? Okay, my next question I wanted to ask you, Stu, is did you do any internships or any kind of volunteering when you were first starting out in the industry? Yeah, I can sort of relate doing, I do volunteer work with Rogers TV here, which is, they're a big cable company. They own all the Toronto teams. And when I do hockey games and live broadcasts, I'm always a little bit nervous, but once we get started, then the nerves disappear on what you're trying to do. And can you imagine if they had more off spots back in the 80s? The Tigers and the Jays would have been playing a little season as well. The producer, Neil, didn't put me on the top cameras, but they put me in behind the net. And basically, Neil said, you might not be on the center ice camera, which is kind of the main ones, but he goes, every camera position is important. I've had to do that a number of times, Eric, where a guest has had an emergency or something come up, and I still wanted to come on, and the show has to go on. So I just talk about what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And if somebody comments, I bring their comment up. Anyways, guys, that clip was courtesy of my YouTube channel, and the demo reel was done by Onward Media out of Kitchener as well. So, and again, thanks to the Philly Sports Guy for telling me about a virtual background on here as well. I selected Lambeau Field today for my first show as well. Again, I want to say thank you again to Mark Cullen from Barry Cullen's Chevrolet here in Guelph for being the first sponsor of the Live with CDP Sports talk show as well. Speaking of my next show, season 4, episode 28 will be this Tuesday, September 6th at 4 o'clock with my guest, Paul Woods, CFL historian and author of The Year of the Rocket, the story of the 91 Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts under the ownership of Bruce McNall, Wayne Gretzky, and the late John Candy. And they had such a great team that year with quarterback Matt Dunnigan, Pinball Clements, obviously, and various other star players like Rocket Ismail, who they outbid the NFL for from Notre Dame. So I'm looking forward to speaking to Paul Woods, who's a CFL historian as well. And he's wrote 3 books, but 2 of them are about the Argonauts. One was about from a national joke to champion, about the 83 Grey Cup champion Argonauts. And his other book came out a year ago called The Year of the Rocket, which is about Rocket Ismail and the 91 Argonauts team that shocked the football world with signing Rocket Ismail and having big name guests at all their home games at the then Skydome under Bruce McNall and Wayne Gretzky and the late John Candy. So I'm really looking forward to speaking to Paul about his career in media. He was also with Toronto Star as well, and talk about his books. And of course, our Toronto Argonauts, who the Argonauts now are off until Monday, September 5th, 1 o'clock. Labor Day Classic kickoff game against those Hamilton Tiger Cats from Tim Hortons Field. And I'm going to be doing another Argo Bounce live audio show on Twitter Spaces with my co-host Nick Small next week. We're not sure the day and time, but once we confirm that, we'll let you know, and we'll break down the game against the Hamilton Tiger Cats and preview the Argonauts' next game, which is going to be on the road. They're not going to be home at BMO Field again until Saturday, October 8th at 4 o'clock against the BC Lions. So we'll see if the Argonauts can get a win. And we got lots of football this weekend. We got games tonight and Sunday and Monday. 2 games on Monday, Labor Day Monday. Toronto and Hamilton at 1 o'clock, and Calgary, Edmonton at 4:30. So lots of CFL action, and also, guys, we got college football that's started back up. And as you guys know, I'm a huge Michigan Wolverine fan. Go Blue! The Wolverines open their home season at the Big House in Ann Arbor tomorrow at 12 o'clock against the Colorado State Rams, and it looks like Cade McNamara is going to be starting game 1, and then game 2 on September 10th against Hawaii. It looks like J.J. MacArthur. So I think Coach Harbaugh wants to see how each quarterback does in their game, and then by week 3, I think they're going to name a permanent starter. So these first 2 games are going to be important for Michigan to win against the opponents they should win against, but to see how the starting quarterback McNamara and JJ McCarthy as well. So, looking forward to it, guys. And like I said, again, I really enjoyed talking Eagles football team today with my guest, the Philly sports guy as well. Like I do with all my podcasts, guys. Live with CDP Sports Talk podcast. The audio version is downloaded to Google Podcasts, Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Spotify, Castbox, and LinkedIn. And as you guys know, StreamYard is the official live stream provider of Live with CDP podcast, Sports Talk podcast. And you guys can also follow me on TikTok at Live with CDP, or check me out on beacons.ai/Chris Pame, and all my social media pages will come up there as well. And also, you guys can check me out on wordpress.com/live with CDP podcast.wordpress.com as well. And as for the Philly Sports Guy, guys, you can check him out on all social media platforms, including on Twitter at the Philly Sports Guy, and on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. He has his own official YouTube channel as well, the Philly Sports Guy. And you can check out his website, thephillysportsguy.net as well. And us also can check out PhiladelphiaEagles.com. Fly Eagles Fly. And that's about it, guys. Like I said, I want to say thank you again to the Philly Sports Guy for coming on live with CDP Sports Talk today. And I'm looking forward to football weekend with college football and the CFL going on, and then the Argos game on Monday as well. And I will be doing some camera work for the University of Guelph Griffin's teams this year. And I want to thank my friend Scotty Frazier from Rogers TV for putting in a good word for me. And I'm looking forward to doing some camera work, like I said, for the Guelph Griffins, and cross my fingers, and hopefully I'll be at their home opener Monday doing some camera work with them as well again. So that's about it. I hope everybody has a great Labor Day weekend in Canada and the States. And I hope you guys can all tune into my next podcast, Season 4, Episode 28. This Tuesday, September 6th at 4 o'clock with Paul Woods, and we're going to talk about his career in media and the Year of the Rocket book that came out a year ago about the 91 Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts. And again, special thank you to Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership at 905 Woodlawn Road in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website at barrycullen.com. I hope you guys all have a great evening and enjoy your Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you on Tuesday at 4 o'clock with Paul Woods.